The day I saw the words Family ATM next to my name in the family group chat, I couldn't breathe. It was a random Thursday. I had just wired $5,000 to my parents, like I had every month for the last 6 years. Rent was due for their house. My younger brother needed a new laptop for college, and my mom had messaged me saying she was short on medical bills again. No complaints, no hesitation, just transferred it. Like always. But that afternoon, my mom accidentally added me to a group chat she meant to forward a message to. The group was titled Core Family. I hadn't seen it before. Curious, I tapped in. And then everything cracked. Mom. Got the money. ATM refilled. Dad. Tell her we need a bit more next time. Property tax is going up. Uncle Rafiq. Don't make her suspicious. She's gullible but not stupid. My brother Ali. Lamau, she doesn't even ask questions. Just sends it. Easy cash. I read it once, twice, a third time. Each time it shattered something deeper. They weren't struggling. They weren't surviving. They were using me. Mocking me. And I had changed my entire life for them. I skipped vacations. I wore clothes from 5 years ago. I even turned down a promotion that would have moved me across the country because I needed to stay near to help them, and all this time they saw me not as a daughter, a sister, but as an ATM. I wanted to scream, confront them, shut the money faucet off forever. But then I saw another message that stopped me cold. Dad, keep her happy till we get the inheritance. After that, she's on her own. Inheritance? Whose inheritance? They'd never mentioned anything about that. That's when I decided I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. I needed to know everything first, because something about this, something darker, was hiding behind those laughing emojis and casual manipulation. And if I had learned anything in the last 6 years, it was this. When people think you're too kind to fight back, they forget just how much pain you're capable of surviving and delivering. So I stayed quiet, kept smiling, and I started digging. What I uncovered next would not only destroy every illusion I had about my family, it would change everything I believed about love, loyalty, and what it means to truly belong. Let me take you back to the beginning, when I thought sacrifice meant love, and when being the good daughter nearly ruined me forever. They say family is everything, and for the longest time, I believed that, deep in my bones. My name is Sana, and I grew up in a small 2-bedroom house just outside of Houston. We weren't poor exactly, but we were always tight. Every dollar was stretched. Every birthday came with guilt. Every school field trip meant a silent, tearful negotiation with my mom late at night. But somehow, we made it through. My dad was a stern, quiet man who worked construction. My mom stayed at home, claiming chronic migraines that made it impossible for her to work, though I rarely saw her in actual pain. My younger brother Ali was 7 years younger than me, our golden boy. Funny, charming, always getting into trouble that magically disappeared the next day. From the time I was 12, I understood one thing. If I wanted anything in life, I'd have to earn it myself. And so I did. I got my first job at 15, bagging, groceries, and sneaking homework between shifts. I graduated valedictorian, got a scholarship to a state university, took side gigs tutoring and babysitting just to cover books and rent. And even though I could have applied to law schools out of state, I stayed local. Why? Because my parents needed me. Because my brother needed guidance. Because I wanted to help. Because that's what good daughters do. I graduated with a degree in finance, got a job at a mid-sized investment firm, and slowly, my paycheck started to look like a lifeline. For them. It started small. Can you help with Ali's tuition this month? Your dad's truck broke down again. Just a loan, we'll pay you back. Rent's gone up, just until your father gets that new contract. Every ask was a little heavier than the last. And every time, I said yes. Without resentment, without hesitation. Because I owed them, right? They raised me. Sacrificed for me. My dad worked under the burning Texas sun for years so I could read books in air-conditioned libraries. My mom skipped new clothes and outings so I could go to prom. That's what she always told me. So when I finally moved out at 26 into my small downtown apartment, nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with peeling paint and loud neighbors, I kept wiring money home, every single month, $5,000, sometimes more. To them, I was a miracle. To my coworkers, I was an overachiever with no hobbies. To myself, I was just tired, but proud. I didn't go out much. I didn't shop. I didn't travel. When friends from college flew to Greece or Bali, I watched their stories from a screen while ordering ramen for dinner. Again. But it was okay. Because I had purpose, and Ali was my purpose too. I wanted him to have the life I didn't. I paid for his college, bought him a car, sent him spending money whenever he asked. I believed in him more than anyone. When he failed a class, I told him to keep going. When he said he wanted to switch majors, again, I said, find what makes you happy. I thought I was building something, a future, a legacy, a family worth the struggle. I thought they loved me back. And for years, nothing happened to shake that belief until a man named Ryan entered my life. It was at the coffee shop across the street from my office. I had dropped my latte, clumsy as ever, and he reached out before it hit the floor, saving my dignity and my caffeine fix all in one move. Tall, kind eyes, an easy laugh that didn't feel forced. He asked if I was okay, and we started talking. Ryan worked in marketing, newly moved to Houston, looking for friends, and somehow, I became more than a friend. He liked my intensity, said he admired my dedication to family. You don't see that much anymore, he once said, rubbing his thumb across my palm. You're rare, Sana, for the first time I let someone into my little overworked world. He made me laugh, made me feel light again. But when he asked about vacations, I dodged. When he planned dinner at a fancy restaurant, I always found a reason to reschedule. And when he asked, where does your money go? I laughed and changed the subject, because I didn't want him to know. I was embarrassed. Somewhere deep down, I had started to feel that the scale of my giving was unnatural, that I was trying to fill a bottomless pit. But I had built this narrative of being the rock of the family. If I questioned it now, it would all collapse. Still, one day, I tried to open up. We were sitting on his couch, the city lights flickering through the blinds. My family. They depend on me a lot, I said, voice barely above a whisper. He squeezed my hand. That must be hard. And then, do you think they'd still love you if you stopped? I didn't answer. I couldn't, because the question haunted me, more than I wanted to admit. Then came the real test. I was offered a promotion, a big one, a move to New York, triple the salary, a chance to lead a team, dream job territory. I hesitated. I told myself it was about Ryan, that we were just getting serious. But deep down, I knew the truth. I didn't want to leave my family behind. Who would help them with bills? With hospital visits? With broken cars and overdue credit cards? I imagined my mother calling, voice quivering, saying she couldn't make rent. I imagined my dad silent on the other end of the line, too proud to ask but needing help. I imagined Allie dropping out again, so I turned it down, didn't even tell Ryan. And when my boss looked at me with confusion and said, "Are you sure?" I smiled and said, "My family needs me here." But that night, I cried until sunrise. Fast forward a few months, Allie had supposedly graduated. My parents were planning a big dinner to celebrate. I offered to pay for the entire event. Just send the money, Mom said. We'll handle everything. So I sent it. The next day, she asked for more, and then more again. I didn't even flinch. It was routine now. Then came that Thursday. The message, the accidental group chat, and everything cracked open. But here's the thing. In that moment, reading their texts, the laughing emojis, the jokes, I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt stupid. And it's hard to explain how dangerous that emotion is when you spend your whole life being the dependable one, the strong one, and suddenly realize you were the naive one all along. It does something to your soul. I kept reading. Every message was like a slap. She thinks we're struggling. LOL. Don't tell her about the new TV, she'll freak. Once we get the inheritance, we don't need her. Just smile and keep collecting. They were strategizing around me, like I was a chess piece. Like I wasn't family, but a wallet with legs. And the worst part? I didn't even know what inheritance they were talking about. Something told me that wasn't a slip. That it wasn't just a throwaway line, so I decided then and there I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. Because now I had questions. And for the first time in years, I wasn't going to send another dollar until I got answers. I stared at my phone, screen dimming. The group chat messages burned into my brain like a scar. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, stiff under the covers, every breath tighter than the last. I thought of the 5 birthdays I'd skipped, for overtime. The 4 times I paid off Ali's tuition after he'd forgotten a deadline. The wedding I couldn't attend in Italy because Mom said she needed root canal surgery. I remembered the time I walked home in the rain to save Uber. Money. The winter I kept the heat low to save $50. I remembered every time I'd said, "It's okay, I'll manage," while watching my parents live like they weren't just surviving, but thriving. Suddenly, I started noticing everything in a new light. Ali's Instagram stories, flashy restaurants, weekend getaways, captioned "Nag chill life." Dad's old truck, upgraded, brand new rims, a polished interior. Mom's constant need for medical money? Odd, considering she was dancing in a cousin's TikTok just last week at a family function I wasn't invited to. The world hadn't changed. I had, and I wanted the truth. So I started small. The next morning, I didn't send the usual monthly $5,000. Instead, I waited. At exactly 11:17 a.m., my mother texted, "Sweetheart, did you forget the transfer? Everything okay?" I stared at the screen. For once, I didn't respond immediately. I let an hour pass. Then 2. Then, at 3:30 p.m., a message from my dad. "Your mom is worried sick. Call us." I didn't. By evening, Ali texted, "Hey, Mom's freaking out. Can you just send it so?" She stops pacing. No one asked how I was. No one wondered if I was okay. It was like I was a machine that had malfunctioned, and now the factory workers were annoyed. I replied to Ali, "Busy day at work. I'll send it tomorrow." I didn't. Instead, I began pulling threads. First, the inheritance. I had no grandparents left, maternal or paternal. So what inheritance were they talking about? I logged into the online public records portal for Harris County and started searching property deeds, wills, any public filings under our family's names. Hours passed. Nothing. And then something caught my eye, a probate notice filed 3 months ago, name listed, Rafiq Alam, my uncle. He had passed away recently, quietly, no big funeral. Just a photo of a black ribbon on the family WhatsApp, one that I barely paid attention to at the time. But what stood out wasn't just the death notice, it was the executor listed on the will, my dad. I clicked through the PDF, a modest estate. 2 rental properties, 1 warehouse, and a chunk of investment accounts totaling roughly $1.8 million, and then came the shock. The primary heir wasn't my dad. It was me. My name. On paper. In bold. Full inheritance rights. I blinked, reread, checked the name again. Why would Uncle Rafiq leave everything to me? We weren't close. He was nice, but distant. The kind of relative who showed up for Eid, gave you a crisp 20 and disappeared again. My heart pounded. Had my parents hidden this from me? And then the group chat message came flooding back. Keep her happy till we get the inheritance. They knew it was mine, and they were stalling me, trying to keep me obedient until they could find a way to take it. Suddenly, everything made sense. Their extra smiles lately, their love bombing. Mom's random "we're so proud of you" texts that felt just a little scripted. They weren't being kind. They were being careful. I sat in stunned silence, screen glowing, and then another message popped up on my phone. A private message from Allie. Hey, you good? Dad said you were acting weird. Don't let work. Stress get to you. We're all here for you. Something about it was so fake, so practiced. I tapped on his profile, opened his photos, and then I saw it. A screenshot he'd accidentally posted on his story for 2 seconds, long enough for me to catch it before he deleted it. It was of a text conversation. Allie. She doesn't know anything. Dad's gonna get the papers signed. Soon. Unknown. What if she finds out? Allie. She won't. She trusts us. She's blind. Blind. That word. It stayed in my chest like ice. I grabbed my coat, left my apartment, and walked aimlessly under the streetlights, trying to breathe. To think, to stop shaking. I thought I was the one protecting them, but the whole time, they were planning a betrayal so cold, so calculating, I almost didn't see the car coming. I stepped off the sidewalk and screech, brakes, horns, someone yelling. I stumbled back just in time. I stood frozen, heart pounding, not because of the car, because I had finally accepted a truth I had been avoiding for far too long. My family was plotting to steal from me, and if I didn't do something soon, they just might succeed. But I wasn't going to let them. I had a plan, and I was about, to flip the entire game. I didn't eat for 2 days. I kept going to work like everything was fine, nodding in meetings, responding to emails, smiling at coworkers. But inside, I was unraveling. That group chat, that will, those messages. All proof that I wasn't crazy. My parents, my own family, were scheming behind my back. And what scared me most wasn't that they were lying. It was how good they were at it. I decided to play along. For now. If they wanted to think I was still blind, I'd hand them the blindfold. That night, I sent a voice message in the family group chat. I made my voice soft, apologetic. Hey, sorry I've been out of it. Work's been really intense. I'll send the money tomorrow. Immediate replies. Oh, thank God. We were worried. Hope you're okay, baby. I wanted to scream. But instead, I smiled. Because now I had leverage. I took a personal day from work. While sipping bad coffee at a local library, I started digging deeper into the inheritance. The will clearly listed me as the beneficiary, but here's the thing. Probate wasn't finalized yet, which meant no funds had moved, but I saw something troubling. A document requesting power of attorney filed on my behalf. Except, I never signed anything. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. They were forging my name. I copied the document, printed it, and emailed it to a friend from law school, Carla. Carla called me 20 minutes later. Sana, this is serious. If your dad's trying to get power of attorney without your consent, that's fraud. Full stop. Can we stop it? We'll have to file a revocation and an affidavit of non-consent. But Sana, this isn't just forgery. This is premeditated theft. I was quiet for a moment. Then I asked, how long do I have? Carla paused. They're requesting an emergency hearing. That usually means they're in a rush. Days, maybe? A week? I hung up and stared at the printed page in front of me. My own father had signed as my legal representative, and my mother had witnessed it. Ali? He notarized it. Somehow, the betrayal was total, but I wasn't going down without a fight. I started recording phone calls, saving texts, building a paper trail of my own, and then I baited the hook. I told them, very carefully, that I might be moving to New York for work after all. It's just a temporary thing. 6 months, maybe. How will we manage without you? My mom said dramatically. Don't worry, I said. I'll set up automatic transfers. I just need to update some account info. Silence. Then Dad jumped in. Are you sure that's wise? I think it's better if we handle your accounts locally. Easier to manage. Boom. There it was. They were pushing to consolidate my assets. That weekend, Ali showed up unannounced at my apartment. Just checking in, he said, holding a bag of takeout. He had never done that before. We sat awkwardly as he rambled about family and how he appreciated everything I'd done. Then he pulled out a folder. Dad thought you should review this. It's just some routine stuff with the inheritance. A few signatures, nothing major. I stared at him. My little brother, the boy I bought a car for. Ali, did you read any of this? No, Dad said. You're asking me to sign legal documents you haven't even read? He looked cornered, like a puppy caught chewing a shoe. You don't trust us? I smiled. Cold. Not anymore. He left quickly after that. Just when I thought I had control, life threw another punch. At work, my manager Helen pulled me into her office. We received a call from someone claiming to be your father. He said you were medically unfit and wouldn't be returning. My mouth dropped open. What? That's not true. I know. That's why I'm telling you. But Sana, is everything okay? I nodded quickly. Too quickly. Helen leaned in. If something's going on, I can refer you to HR or legal. They were trying to get me fired, and if I lost my job, they'd swoop in and say, don't worry, we'll manage your finances, just rest. They weren't just after the inheritance anymore. They wanted everything. That night, I cracked. I called Ryan. I hadn't spoken to him in over a week. He answered on the second ring. Hey, he said softly. I've been worried. I burst into tears. We met at his apartment. I told him everything, from the fake signatures to the will to the group chat. I showed him the proof. Ryan didn't speak for a long time. He just listened, held my hand. Then he said something that made me stop breathing. Sana, what if this isn't the first time they've done this to someone? What do you mean? Your uncle, Rafiq. He left everything to you, right? What? If he did that because he knew they couldn't be trusted? The room tilted. It suddenly made sense. Uncle Rafiq never had kids. He was estranged from my parents for years. Maybe he left it to me because he saw what they were capable of. Maybe he tried to protect me, and they were trying to erase that. The next day, I went to the records office again. I requested the coroner's report for Rafiq's death. The clerk raised an eyebrow. It was natural causes. Why? Just curious. I'm the heir. She printed the summary for me, but one detail made my knees go weak. Rafiq had died from a fall down the stairs, in my parents' house. The timing? One day after he had called a lawyer to update his will. That wasn't a coincidence. I had no proof, but my gut screamed louder than logic. My parents didn't just lie. They may have done something worse. I invited them to my apartment, all of them. Mom, Dad, Ali. I told them I had news. They arrived with fake smiles and a gift bag. My mom even brought cupcakes. So proud of you, sweetie. Whatever your news is, we'll support you. I offered tea. sat across from them. Then I pulled out a thick envelope and placed it on the table. These are the documents you forged, along with the audio of you discussing it. Silence. My father's face darkened. Ali blinked like he was about to faint. My mom's hands shook slightly. Sana, let's talk calmly. No, you talk. I listen. I pointed to the hidden recorder on the table. This is being recorded. I've already filed a revocation with the court, and I've hired a lawyer. Any attempt to access my finances again will be considered fraud. My dad stood up. After everything we've done for you? You mean stole from me? My voice cracked. Tears were coming, but I held them back. You used me, for years. I skipped life to support you. I gave up promotions, vacations, even relationships. And you laughed behind my back. It's not like that, Ali shouted. You betrayed me, I snapped. We're family, my mom cried. I looked her dead in the eyes. No, we were. And then I opened the door. Get out. And don't come back. They left in stunned silence. I collapsed onto the floor, shaking. But I thought, maybe now it was over. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from Carla. Sana, you need to come to the courthouse, now. Why? Your parents. They've filed for emergency guardianship. What? They're claiming you're mentally unstable and incapable of managing your finances. That's insane. They've filed hospital records, therapy notes, something from your employer. I froze. Ryan's words echoed in my mind. What if this isn't the first time they've done something like this? They were playing a long game, and if they won, they'd control everything. I stood outside the courthouse, clutching a file of documents to my chest as if it were a bulletproof vest. The sun was too bright, the world too loud. I felt like I was underwater. Inside those courthouse walls, my parents were telling a judge that I wasn't capable of taking care of myself, that I was unstable, dangerous, paranoid. They had submitted medical records, real ones, from the one time I saw a therapist during grad school for burnout, a note about anxiety, a temporary prescription for sleeping pills. They used that to paint me as unwell, and worse. They had someone from HR at my job submit a statement saying I'd been erratic lately. I felt like I was in a dream I couldn't wake up from. No, not a dream. A nightmare. My legs started trembling, and I sat down on the courthouse steps, head between my knees. I had spent my entire adult life making sure they were okay. Skipping birthdays, missing trips, declining promotions that would take me further away. And now they were trying to institutionalize me? Take my money? My autonomy? Why? I thought of my mother's smile. How warm it always seemed. How many times had that smile been a mask? I thought of my father's stern lectures about sacrifice, hard work, family honor. Were those ever for me? Or were they just grooming tactics? And then, Ali, the kid who cried when he scraped his knee. The boy I used to read bedtime stories to. The one who called me Sani Appa and wouldn't sleep unless I was in the next room. He was testifying against me today, saying I was emotionally unpredictable, that I refused to communicate, that I was mentally deteriorating. I pressed my palms into my face, trying to stop the shaking. Why am I even fighting this? Why don't I just let them win? Maybe I am broken. That thought hit me like a blade. It came out of nowhere. But once it was there, it grew louder. Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't deserve peace. Maybe I'm only good as a provider. My chest started tightening. I couldn't breathe. People walked past me, but I barely registered them. Then, through the chaos in my mind, a memory surfaced. Clear, vivid. I was 8 years old. It was a winter night. Our old house had poor heating, and the power was out. Ali was a baby sick with fever. Mom was yelling at Dad for not paying the electricity bill. They were screaming, blaming each other. I was sitting in the corner with Ali wrapped in my arms, rocking him gently. "Shh," I whispered to him. "You're okay. I'll keep you warm. Don't cry. I'm here." That moment replayed like a loop in my brain. Had always been the caretaker, the fixer, the shield between chaos and innocence. No one shielded me, not once. A car horn snapped me back to the present, and I realized that little girl never got to stop. Not when she turned 15 and had to get a job to help pay bills. Not when she turned 18 and filled out college forms by herself. Not when she turned 24 and took out loans to pay off her father's debts. And not when she was 30 and wiring $5,000 a month while her family lived like royalty. That little girl grew into me. And now, she was breaking. But maybe she didn't have to stay broken. Maybe this pain wasn't weakness. Maybe it was the crack where the light gets in. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking, yes, but they were still mine. I still had a voice. I still had the truth. And for the first time in years, I knew exactly what I had to do. I stood up, straightened my blazer, wiped the tears from my face, and walked into that courtroom like a woman who finally knew her worth. The courtroom was silent. I sat alone at the table facing the judge, as my parents and Ali sat across from me, lawyered up, smug, rehearsed. The same people who once leaned on me for everything, now claiming I was unfit to manage my own life. They'd submitted therapy notes, HR letters, bank transfer histories, painting me as erratic, impulsive, unstable under pressure. I knew how it looked from the outside, a stressed-out daughter, estranged, overworked, a family concerned for her well-being. But I also knew something they didn't. I wasn't that little girl clinging to broken people anymore. At my side was Carla, my friend from law school, smart, relentless, and the only person who believed me from day one. She looked across the aisle at my family and whispered, "They look calm. That means they think they've already won." I nodded. "Good, let's change that." The judge began the session, flipping through the petition. Emergency guardianship due to mental instability, erratic financial behavior, and inability to manage day-to-day affairs. A damning list. On paper, I looked like a walking disaster. Carla stood and cleared her throat. "Your Honor, before we proceed, we'd like to submit supplemental materials disproving the core claims in the petition." She handed the judge a thick folder. Inside, you'll find the following: a timeline of all financial transfers made by Ms. Sana Malik over 5 years, none of which were overdue, bounced, or flagged. A notarized letter from her therapist, stating clearly that her sessions were preventative, not indicative of mental illness. Audio recordings between the petitioners where they openly admit to forging signatures and attempting to gain access to Ms. Malik's financial assets. The judge blinked. "You have recordings?" Carla nodded. "They will speak for themselves." As the first audio clip played, my father casually discussing getting Sana to sign the papers when she's too tired to read. I saw the first crack appear. My mother's lips tightened. Ali wouldn't meet my eyes. And then, the group chat. Carla submitted screenshots with timestamps. The judge frowned as he read, "She's a walking ATM. Don't forget to guilt trip her before the first. Wish we'd made her sign over more when she was still crying over Rafiq." The room felt colder. The mask was slipping, fast, and they had no idea how much I still had left to reveal. Just as things began to teeter, the judge asked, "Do you have any witnesses?" Carla stood. "Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Ryan Carter." Ryan walked in, composed, professional. in a tailored suit I'd never seen him wear before. My parents whispered to each other in panic. He took the stand and calmly testified about what he'd seen. My emotional breakdown, yes, but also my endless generosity, my work ethic, my efforts to support my family. And then he dropped a bombshell. "I have an audio message, Your Honor, sent to me by Mr. Ali Malik, Ms. Malik's brother, asking me to help convince Sana to sign over her assets before she went to New York." He pulled out his phone, pressed play. Ali's voice filled the room. "Bro, you're close to her. Just talk to her. We'll take care of the rest. We just need her to sign, man. We can't lose that money." My brother buried his face in his hands. My mom audibly gasped. My dad stared straight ahead. The judge asked if Ali had anything to say in response. For a moment, he didn't move. Then he looked at me. Just me. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I said nothing, because now I didn't care what he meant. I cared what he did. A new strategy. Go public or go quiet. After court adjourned for the day, Carla pulled me aside. "You're winning. They're scrambling. But we have to decide how far you want to take this." "What do you mean?" "You can press charges, fraud, emotional abuse, even conspiracy to defraud an estate. But that means it'll all go public. News, reputation. It could destroy them." I hesitated. Because the truth is, part of me wanted that. I wanted to watch them crumble under the weight of everything they tried to do to me. But another part just wanted to be free, to walk away, without burning the whole house down. Ryan gently put his hand on mine. "You don't owe anyone silence, Sana, but you do owe yourself peace." That night, I couldn't sleep. I found myself staring at an old photo album. One picture caught my eye. It was me, age 9, holding Ali at his birthday party. My face beaming, my parents standing behind us, stiff and posed, but proud. It hit me. I had loved them completely, even when they didn't love me that way back, even when they saw me as a tool, not a daughter. I gave everything, hoping they'd see me, and now I finally saw them. 3 days later, the judge ruled in my favor. Guardianship petition, dismissed with prejudice, forgery, flagged for criminal investigation, all their carefully laid lies, exposed, their reputation, fractured, their control over me, gone. I moved out of the apartment I'd been in for years. I got a smaller, quieter place, just for me. I stopped the monthly transfers. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I just stopped. At first, they tried calling, begging, then yelling, then guilt-tripping. I blocked them all. I started going to therapy again, but not because I was broken, because I wanted to stay whole. Ryan stayed by my side, patient, loving, but never pushing. For the first time in my life, I was learning how to live for myself. Months later, I sent one final letter, a copy of the judge's ruling, a list of every transfer I'd ever made, a copy of the will, with my uncle's handwritten note in the margins. To Sana, the only one I ever trusted. "Protect this. Protect yourself." And a short message in my handwriting. I used to think love meant sacrifice. Now I know love doesn't ask for silence, submission, or suffering. This is not revenge. This is freedom. It was Ali's wedding. I didn't want to go, but I needed to, not to celebrate, but to close the circle. After everything, my family still acted like nothing had happened. No lawsuit, no audio files, no betrayal. Just silence. As if time could erase the damage. But silence doesn't heal wounds. It buries them alive. So when the invitation arrived, thick, gold, unnecessarily expensive, I RSVP'd yes. Not because I forgave them, because I was ready to face them. The wedding was at a luxury hall outside Islamabad, chandeliers dripping crystals, floral walls taller than people, a rented white horse waiting outside for the groom. They were still playing royalty, still pretending they hadn't tried to destroy me. As I walked in, the room quieted for a beat. They hadn't expected me to show. Especially, not like this. I wore an emerald green dress, the exact color my mother once said wasn't flattering on your skin tone. It shimmered under the lights like armor. My heels clicked across marble like a clock ticking toward judgment. And on my arm, Ryan. Suited. Calm. Solid. We were a storm wrapped in silk. My mother spotted me first. Her face froze mid-smile, like a mask, cracking. "You came," she said, voice tight. "Of course," I smiled. "Wouldn't miss Ali's big day. You spent enough of my money on it." Her eyes flickered. I leaned in. "Oh, wait. Was I not supposed to say that out loud?" "This is not the time," she hissed. "Exactly," I whispered. "Your time's up." Then came Ali, surrounded by friends laughing, until he saw me. The laughter dropped like a guillotine. He walked up slowly, adjusting his sherwani, unsure whether to hug me or run. "Sana, you didn't think, that much is clear." I looked him dead in the eye. "You called me your second mother. Then you sold me out like a stranger." "It wasn't like that." "You know what hurt the most?" I said. "Not the money. Not the lies. Not even the court." I paused, locking eyes. "It was knowing you knew who I was. And still, you chose them." He swallowed hard. "I was scared. So was I, but I never weaponized it." People around us had started to notice. Whispers snaked through the crowd. Someone turned down the music. Even the photographers froze. My father approached, voice measured. "This is not the place, Sana." "I agree," I said. "That place was the courtroom, where you accused me of being insane." "We were worried about you," he lied effortlessly. "You wanted my money. And when I stopped being convenient, I became your liability." I turned to the small crowd forming around us. "Want to know what this family did? They tried to strip me of guardianship over my own life. They told a judge I was mentally unstable, just so they could keep milking me like an ATM." Gasps. Someone dropped a glass. The spell was breaking. My voice wavered, but didn't break. "I fed this family. I paid for this wedding. I paid for your college, Ali, your tuition, your housing, your laptop. I gave Mom and Dad $5,000 every single month for 6 years. That's $360,000, more than enough to buy peace. But they didn't want peace. They wanted power." Now people were filming, phones out, recording, uploading. I could see it on my father's face, that tight-lipped panic. The one he got when control slipped through his fingers. He reached for my arm. "Enough," he said. I pulled away. "Don't you ever touch me again." I pulled a small envelope from my clutch, held it up. "Before my uncle died, he left me something. A property in my name. One you didn't know about." My mother's eyes narrowed. "That property was supposed to be yours?" I finished. Except it wasn't. He wrote a letter, said he trusted me, said he saw how I was treated. He left it all to me, and I've decided what to do with it. I turned toward the small crowd. "I'm donating it to a women's shelter, one that helps daughters escape toxic homes. The deed is already signed. Your legacy of greed ends here." My father tried to recover. "You're ruining your brother's wedding." "No," I said. "I'm freeing myself. That's different." Ali finally spoke up. "Sana, please, not here." "Why not here? Why not now?" I snapped. "You all had no issue dragging me into courtrooms, into betrayal, into therapy, for trauma I didn't cause. I looked at him, my baby brother. You lost me the day you chose inheritance over integrity. Guests began to whisper louder. People stared at my parents with open disgust. One aunt stepped forward. Sana Beta, I'm so sorry. Another uncle shook his head. I always knew something was off, but I didn't know it was this bad. My mother's face flushed crimson. She looked like she wanted to scream. But for once, she didn't have an audience that believed her. I turned to Ryan. Let's go. We walked out, heels echoing against polished marble floors. As the doors swung closed behind me, I felt something leave my body. Not shame, not fear. Them. They were no longer mine to carry. They called me a family ATM. Tried to break me. But they forgot. One thing, I was the one funding the illusion. And when I stopped, it all crumbled. Not because I screamed, not because I fought, but because I finally said, no more. It's been 14 months since I walked out of that wedding hall. 14 months since I stopped answering their calls, their messages, their forwarded guilt wrapped in emojis and one-liners like, family is forever, maybe, but not this. Family. Not the version that devoured my boundaries and called it love. At first, the silence was strange, like waking up in a house that had always been loud, not with sound, but with need. Can you send this? We're short this month. Your brother needs new books. Be a good daughter. My body stayed tense, waiting for the next demand. But it didn't come. Not because they learned, because I left. I didn't heal all at once. There were days I cried, days I doubted, nights I stared at my phone wondering if maybe I had gone too far, if I was the villain, if I had become too cold, too selfish, too American. But therapy helped. So did journaling, and so did Ryan, who never tried to fix. Me only reminded me that I wasn't broken. You were bleeding, he said once, but they handed you a mop instead of a bandage. He was right. About 6 months after the wedding, Ali reached out. A long email. He'd quit his job. Said he was struggling, depressed, adrift. He didn't ask for money, just forgiveness. And for once, I didn't feel rage. I felt nothing. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because I had nothing left to give. I started volunteering at the very shelter I donated my uncle's property to, helping women who were escaping situations like mine, except worse. I'd sit with them, listen to stories that made mine feel small. I wasn't a savior. I was just familiar. One day, a young girl, maybe 19, told me, "You look like someone who figured it out." I smiled and replied, "I look like someone who stopped pretending." For a long time, family was a word that choked me. Now? It's a choice. I have one now, not born, but built. Ryan, Carla, my friends from law school, the women at the shelter, the neighbor who bakes extra banana bread just for me. None of them ever called me a walking ATM, and all of them would show up for me. No strings attached. That's real love. I visited my uncle's grave last month. I sat down, placed a single flower, and read his note again. The one he wrote just before he died. "I watched you grow up in a home that didn't know how to love you. But I saw your heart. You're stronger than all of them combined. Never let them shrink you." I whispered. I didn't. And for the first time in years, I believed, it may be you're the one in your family always giving, always sending, always sacrificing. Maybe they call you dramatic when you try to rest, or ungrateful when you set a boundary. Maybe they've convinced you that love and debt are the same thing. That your value lies in how much you provide, not who you are. If that's you, let me say something clearly. You are not an ATM. You are a person. You are allowed to rest, to keep your money, to say no and not be punished for it. Looking back, I wish I had walked away sooner. But I don't regret how long I stayed, because it taught me one thing. Even the strongest people break when their love is exploited long enough. But we also heal. We rise. And when we do, we're not just stronger, we're free. Have you ever felt like the family ATM? Have you ever been guilted, drained, or emotionally manipulated just because you were the responsible one? Tell me your story in the comments. You're not alone. Let's make this space a place for healing, truth, and breaking cycles. Like, comment, and subscribe if this story spoke to you. And remember, you don't owe anyone your destruction just to keep them comfortable.